Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you tuning in today. And again, a special thank you to those of you who have become subscribers to the channel. You guys are the absolute best. Your support, your encouragement, um, liking the videos, commenting, sharing the videos, sharing the channel on social media. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much for everything you do to help me with this channel. You guys are like I said, you're the best. Um, Getting the formalities out of the way, we will move on into today's episode. And today we're going to be talking about George Romero movie 2007's Diary of the Dead. Um, I'd seen this one before. I know I've seen the whole thing once. I feel like I'd seen pieces of it, maybe here and there. Watched it again today to get ready to do this episode. Um, yeah, this is an interesting one to talk about. So we will talk Diary of the Dead. Um, Yeah, I don't really think I have anything else to say, so let me put my glasses on, and, well, glasses are hard to put on with the, headphones there. There we go. Let me get my glasses on here so I can read my notes, and we'll get started on today's episode. So, Diary of the Dead, as I said, released in 2007. Tagline for the film, "Where will you be when the end begins?" Uh, Brief overview, a group of young filmmakers encounter real zombies while filming a horror movie of their own. Movie was released or premiered September 8th of 2007 at the Toronto International Film Festival and then released February 15th of 2008 in theaters in the United States. Directed and written by George Romero, produced by Peter Grunwald, Art Spiegel, Sam Engelbart, and Era Katz. Cinematography by Adam Swicka, edited by Michael Doherty, music by Norman Orenstein, distributed by Third Rail, releasing a runtime of 95 minutes, a budget of $2 million, box office of $5.3 million. Scores, Rotten Tomatoes, 62% from critics, 41% from the audience, and an IMDb score sitting at 5.5 out of 10. Cast for the film: Michelle Morgan, Josh Close, Sean Roberts, Amy Lalonde, Joe Dinical, and Scott Whitworth. Let's stop right there and briefly discuss the cast and the characters in this film. Um, this is one of those movies, you probably heard me talk about it before. I like it when you have a a group, I guess, for lack of a better word, of people. That's part of the reason that I like slasher films so much. Is there always seems like, Friday the 13th is a perfect example. There's always a group, right, of camp counselors out there that Jason is after. So I do like that group aspect in movies when you got a group of survivors, or the people that the killer, or in this case zombies, are after, banding together somewhat. It helps when that group is likable, or at least there are some likable people in that group. um, the characters in this film are all pretty mid, in my opinion. There's nobody that really just jumps out and makes you dislike them, but then at the same time, there's nobody that I really found myself liking either. Just a kind of a mid group of people, really. You do get frustrated with one of the primary characters in the film, Jason. He's the one that's doing all of the recording in this movie. It does get annoying. There are times when you're like, why are you still doing this? But again, that's the whole purpose and principle of this movie, right? So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is there. But yeah, I mean, he's really the only one. He's one of the main people. He's kind of annoying, I guess, just from the recording aspect. But um, I mean, again, nobody I really disliked, but nobody I just really liked either. There were some, I guess, somewhat annoying things about multiple people in this film. But as far as performance, though, I think everybody did a good job. There's not any mind blowing Oscar nominee performances coming out of this movie, but nobody did bad either. I mean, the performances are all fine. So yeah, fine performances, characters kind of mid, and that's where I am on this one. Although I will say that, well, let's talk about a couple behind the scenes things, and then we'll get into the plot. So this is the fifth installment in George Romero's Night of the Living Dead franchise. This one going back to taking place more at the beginning of the outbreak. Um, Quentin Tarantino, Wes Craven, I always mess up this guy's name, Guillermo del Toro, Simon Pegg, and Stephen King all lend voices as newsreaders in this film. After the release of Land of the Dead, Romero wanted to go back to more low budget filming and more like the origins of the franchise, stating that with Land of the Dead, that it was too far into the zombie apocalypse schools would be closed, that kind of thing. And so it wouldn't make any sense to have these student filmmakers making a movie and out there and doing that kind of thing. So he wanted to make this one more like this is back at the beginning. And there is a news track of the 1968 Night of the Living Dead film that is used when the cast is in a garage in this film. So there is that. That's really all I've got as far as any behind the scenes things. So let's start to get into this plot and walk through this a little bit. And I will say, before I get started, I like this idea. I like this concept and this story, where you're somewhat bringing in a found footage type look. You're also kind of giving this a documentary feel. You're looking at this as being this is what was happening in the beginning of the zombie apocalypse, and these student filmmakers are recording it to show, you know, if the world survives and people get to see this later, how, or if other survivors see this is how this group, was trying to survive. So I like the overall feel and kind of where things are going, or not really going, but the setup of this movie. I do like that. So I like the story. I like the plot for this film. Film opens with a news crew shooting footage of a man who has killed his wife and son and then shot himself. And then we start to get a narrator explaining that this footage was downloaded. And as the narrator's talking about this footage, the son and the wife, who are presumed dead, end up turning into zombies. They kill several paramedics. They kill police. They attack this news crew. And then we kind of get more downloaded footage from different areas, different things happening. And the narrator talks about that this film was made to tell the truth of what was happening. And that it's Jason, who is the director and the guy that's doing a lot of the filming in this movie. It's his movie, and it's called Death of Death, The Death of Death. That's the opening of the film. Not a bad opening. I'm on board with this. Again, I like the introduction for the zombie thing here and what Romero was doing, of a somewhat documentary, somewhat found footage type of look. 2007, it was a little bit different for a zombie film to go this route, I believe, unless there's something out there that I'm just not thinking of. So, yeah, I like the opening. Again, it's not mind blowing. There's nothing here that just jumped out to me and makes this one of the greatest movie openings of all time. But it's not bad. It's a decent opening to get everything set up. And yeah, again, I'm on board with this. I really couldn't remember much about this film. Like I said, I know I'd seen it before, but I just couldn't remember a lot of the things that happening. There were like a few brief scenes here and there that I kind of remembered setups, but not exactly what happened in those either. So rewatching this today and seeing this beginning, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm on board with this, because to be honest, I couldn't really even completely remember what I thought about the movie before I started watching it today. So, and I'm a fan of, zombies aren't my favorite subgenre, but I don't mind zombie films. There's some really good ones out there. I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I'm a huge fan of the Dawn of the Dead remake. I know a lot of people shit on that one, but I like that movie. So, there are some. I love the Walking Dead TV show, even though people got sick of it. So, there's a lot of zombie stuff out there I really like. So again, like this opening, like the setup, and where we're going with this. From there, we cut to this film crew, these college students that are making a horror movie out in the woods. There's a group of them. They're also accompanied by one of the professors that's kind of being an advisor for them on this. And there's a scene here that comes back later where we see someone dressed as a mummy chasing a girl through the woods, and then they have to cut the scene, and they're talking about things that they want done, and the girl's complaining, she doesn't want to do the scene with the zombie, the mummy attacking her and basically like ripping her top off, and they're all discussing this and what needs to happen, and they kind of get interrupted with news. One of the people there hearing news of the dead returning to life and a lot of murders going on, and so they all stop to listen to these news stories, kind of in shock of what's going on. Some of them believing it, some of them not really, and just a lot of confusion amongst the group. Two of the students, one of the gentleman named Ridley, who is actually portraying the mummy, and another girl, they decide that they're leaving. They're going to Ridley's place. Apparently, he has a big house that's very well protected, and they're going there. Ridley says that everyone can come if they want till they figure out what's going on, but no one else goes. Just the two of them leave. Jason, who is the guy that's putting this all together and directing this and doing some of the filming, he instead wants to go back to the dorm so that he can get his girlfriend Deborah. And we later find out Deborah is the one that was doing the narration at the beginning of the film, and we'll do some narration throughout this, which we'll get back to here in a few minutes. But and so the rest of the group goes with Jason back to the dorm to get Deborah. They end up getting to the dorm and finding that it's pretty much deserted, kind of abandoned. They do manage to find Deborah, though she's still there. Although they're, and here we kind of get the first little bit of people getting a little frustrated because Jason is still recording, and nobody's really understanding why. If all this is happening, if the dead are coming back to life, and no one knows what's going on, why is he still so interested in filming and recording? Like right now, they need to be, figuring things out and getting to safety. And so they end up heading to Deborah's parents. She wants to check on her father and her mother and her younger brother. And so that's where this group begins to go. Um, Again, fine. Nothing here just really jumping out as being mind blowing. I think we're still, we've kind of gotten our introduction now to all of the primary characters in the film. Um, we're still somewhat getting things set up because this trip to Deborah's house is a big portion of this film. So again, we've kind of wrapped up all the character introductions now. We've established what they're trying to do. We've established that Jason keeps wanting to record all of this, and yeah, that's it. And again, it's fine. Nothing extraordinary, but again, everything's fine, and I'm still enjoying the watch at this point. Um, and so from there, they begin with their journey in this RV to Deborah's house. And along the way, they end up coming up across a crash where they see a state trooper who turns out to also be a zombie. They end up running over this trooper and a few other zombies that are standing there in the streets on this kind of side road. Which really seems to shake up some members of the group, especially a girl named Mary who is driving the RV. They end up pulling over, and for the life of me, I don't know why. This is a small plot hole for this film. I don't know why they pulled over. Um, Later, they have some problems with the RV and are forced to, but they were not having that issue now. And so maybe they were just pulling over to regroup. But I would think if you know that there are now zombies out there, uh, pulling over and getting outside in the middle of nowhere does not sound like a very bright idea, but yet that's what they do anyway. So didn't really understand this, but while this is happening, Mary ends up shooting herself and trying to kill herself. The group is kind of freaked out by this, and so they gather her up, and then they arrive at a hospital to try to get her some help. Hospital also is abandoned, and we get some decent scenes here of gore, a few good kills here. As they're in this hospital, they come across a first they can't find anyone. Again, the hospital seems abandoned, and then they come across a doctor and a nurse who are both zombies now. And Gordo, one of the characters, he finds a gun there in the hospital. Okay, and he ends up using this gun and shooting the doctor and the nurse. Um, they also realize here because he shoots the doctor a few times, just like in the chest, and then they realize that you have to shoot them in the head, of course, zombies to take them down, and so he does that. Um, Shortly there, a few minutes later, Mary dies, and now she begins to turn. The professor ends up killing her, and they realize they've got to get out of the hospital. Gordo, in the process of them leaving the hospital, he gets bitten. And then we cut and we start getting more footage of different things going on and kind of the news reports of what's happening, shots of this outbreak in different areas, and we get more narration for Deborah's character. Um, Again, this hospital scene's not bad. I was still enjoying the film at this point. I like the fact that we got some pretty good kills here, some good gore from some of these kills where they're killing the zombies. We've also had a couple of the group. The group's not untouchable because we've had Mary now die and Gordo's been bitten. So, so far still on par with what I felt like was a good zombie movie as we're moving along. And yeah, then we cut to them being out again, more in like a side road type area, a lot of countryside. Gordo has died from his bite, and Mary, another one of the group, who is his girlfriend, and was the girl who was in the movie they were shooting, the one that was portraying the character running from the mummy. She is Gordo's girlfriend. She doesn't want them to shoot him, but as he starts to reanimate and come back, she then shoots him in the head and kills him. And then again, we cut to more of the footage aspect and more narration. And at this point, I'll be completely honest, I was beginning to think that was starting to be overdone. We're beginning to get too much of that, in my opinion, because it's all very similar. Um, to have a little bit of that here and there would have been okay, but we're really starting to get that mixed in a lot, and it will continue through the rest of this movie. Um, and they kind of seem to be trying to get a point across through doing this of that, not everything, just how unsafe it is everywhere, how nobody really knows what's going on, and that even news outlets are probably not reporting things exactly the way they should be. They leave from there after we get more of this, this footage and this narration thing. The fuel line breaks on their RV, and so that they do happen to be near a house. And while they're trying to decide uh, exactly what to do, this Amish man who is also deaf, he comes out talking to him. It's his house that they're near, and he's going to let them use his barn to try to fix their RV. But the zombies and others are beginning to come there and surround this area, and so they do manage to. There's a few things where you think maybe the zombies are going to get in. There's one spot where a couple of them do get in. They kill them again. Just kind of nothing special, but some decent things here going on. Um, this Amish guy here, he's got dynamite that he's throwing and killing the zombies with. And again, I'm like, really? I didn't know that this would be something that Amish people kept in their house, but I don't know much about that, so maybe they do. But as they're getting ready to then get out of the barn, of course, now that they've got the RV fixed and they're getting ready to leave, someone has to open the door, and so the Amish man, who we find out his name is Samuel, and another member of the group. Tony, they are opening this big barn door. And of course, as they do, then several of the zombies start coming in. Tony manages to get back on the RV. As Samuel's about to, he gets attacked, and then he ends up basically killing himself and a zombie. Kills himself so he doesn't turn as he's getting bitten and killing the zombie along with himself, and the group takes off from there. Um, yeah, and then once again we get more of the footage and the narration, and so that's what I mean. Every time, had there only been a few moments of this here and there, I think it would have been okay. I think it would have been fine with showing the other things that were going on around the world while this group was experiencing this. But it just, for me, it became too much, and it really started taking away from the movie. It was really starting to take me out of the movie. I was getting tired of the cuts to the footage and the narration. I just felt like there was too much of it going on, and it was really, in my opinion, starting to disrupt the flow of the film and starting to get a little frustrating here at this point, as we're about halfway through the movie, and this is starting to happen, like I said, quite frequently. Um, from there, as they go again, they stop someplace to get gas. They're about out of gas now, but while they're there, they end up coming across some members of the National Guard who take them to their compound. They kind of discuss with them what's going on. There is a really cool scene here. One scene I did like, I thought looked great. Is while they're there, someone dies there that's a member of this guard, and as he turns, I think it's Tony that he's going after. Tony picks up acid. Again, why they had acid in this compound, I don't know. But he picks up acid in this bottle and smashes it over this guard member, or this zombie's head. And the zombie continues to come after him for a moment, but then the acid starts eating through his head and then down into his skull and into his brain. And it's kind of cool looking. I mean, you can tell that it's, there's some CGI going on there, but it still looks pretty good, I think. That's one of my more favorite scenes of the movie, to be honest with you. I like the way that scene looked and kind of enjoyed that part. Also, while they're there, Deborah gets a message from her brother, a text message that the brother and the parents had been out camping when this all started, and they were now heading back home. And so Deborah wants, now that she knows her family is alive, she wants the group to continue with the original plan of heading to her house. And so they managed to persuade some members of the National Guard to give them some supplies, and they continue on the route to Deborah's house. And then again, more footage and narration that continues to just, at this point, not just be slightly frustrating, but for me, become very annoying because, like I said, it was really interrupting the flow of the movie. Um, yeah, it just, every time something cool happened, then we had to stop and go do this, and it was really starting to bother me, and I questioned why so much of it. Because again, I keep repeating myself, but I feel like a few moments of it here and there would have been fine. this was just way too much of doing this, in my opinion, and it was really hindering the movie tremendously, in my opinion. Once they do arrive at Deborah's house, they go in. They in the garage at one point they see Deborah's parents' car. They see there's blood on the car, so Deborah realizes her family must be home already somewhere. She goes to look for them. She ends up getting attacked by her brother. We find out that he's a zombie and he attacks her. The professor ends up shooting and killing the brother before he can kill Deborah. We then see the mother, who is actually also a zombie and basically eating the father. She also attacks, and again, the professor steps up and kills them. And so they now realize they have to leave. And of course, Deborah's heartbroken because her family is dead, but they don't want to stick around there. And as they're leaving, we get more narration. I don't really think we get any footage here. We're just getting more narration of how just what the world's become. And I believe at this point they decide that they're going to try to head to Ridley's place now. But as they're going along, they come across more National Guard. But this group of National Guardsmen are not so friendly, and end up taking a lot of the supplies that they had just previously got from the other members of the guard. And then we get again more footage. And we're getting footage this time of also civilians being killed, not just zombies. And so, again, you can see where this movie is trying to put across the message, and is trying to do something that so many zombie movies and television shows do, is that when you're in the zombie apocalypse, you're not just battling zombies, you start battling each other. And that's you can tell that's what this film is basically trying to say. It's pushing that, which again is okay. We've seen it before. It's not like it's anything new, but just the way we keep going about it with this film of so much um, so much footage and narration. And there's even a point where Deborah, they see some other things on a computer there at one of the compounds they were at, and they realize that the footage that they see, they've seen this footage before, but now it's been edited and put out in a different way. And so they're like, the news isn't even reporting this correctly, and that is part of Jason's motivation for doing this, is so that people can really see what's happening. And you almost get a part where it seems like Deborah's on board and understanding what he's doing, but then she's right back to frustrated with him for recording again. So there's kind of some confusion here. There's just not a lot of between the constant interruptions to show footage and to get narration, and some of the characters kind of being back and forth. The flow and the pacing of the film have really gotten thrown off by now, and I found myself going from really enjoying this to now being very middle of the road on this movie at this particular part. Um, the group arrives at Ridley's place. Arriving there, initially they notice the door is open and they can't find anyone. They do finally find Ridley and are talking with him. He seems to be acting very odd, and then he finally reveals to them that his family, the staff member at his house, it's this huge mansion, and even Francine, the girl who left with him back in the beginning, have all been killed. They are all dead, and he says he has buried them in the backyard, but then when he shows them, he's actually just thrown them in this huge swimming pool. And a kind of an odd shot. In some ways, it's kind of cool, but in some ways, it's just weird. It doesn't look great. I don't know. It's a really strange scene where you see these zombies in this pool, and this must be a very deep pool because it all seems like they're standing on the bottom, and they're just kind of like barely moving around. So you know that they're still active, but they're just standing on the bottom of this pool. And like I said, in some ways, it's kind of cool looking because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. But at the same time, it doesn't look great either the way it's done. So it's just like, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Um, they also discover that Ridley has been bitten. And that's part of the reason that he's also acting so strange. And eventually, we start to see now we're getting a lot of shots from the security cameras that are in this house. We see that one of the group, his name was Elliot, he has gone upstairs to one of the bathrooms in this place to shower. We see Ridley kind of wandering around in different rooms and getting cuts from different cameras in this place. You see him walk into a room and kind of go through it. He collapses. He dies and then turns, and now he's moving around the house as a zombie. And he ends up Tracy has gone outside to get some things out of the RV. Jason has gone out there with her, still recording, and Ridley ends up popping up and attacking them. And very frustratingly here, Jason never stops recording to help Tracy. He just keeps recording, and Tracy's getting very frustrated with him, and she now starts running. And so it's this very odd um I guess it's just trying to show how committed to getting this all on tape Jason was, which we've that's already been established. But we get this scene that I don't know. I really can't decide what I think about this scene because as Tracy is running, she's kind of running now through some a wooded area, and Ridley, who is still in his mummy outfit, minus the stuff wrapped around his head, is chasing her. Very similar to what we got in the beginning of the film when they were trying to shoot their own horror movie, because that's what was happening. Is Tracy was playing this character that was running from Ridley, who was playing this mummy, and at one point he almost gets her and ends up pulling her top down, which she was complaining about not wanting to do this scene. And all the while, Jason's still following along, recording, and she's yelling at Jason like, "Are you happy now? You're getting your scene now." And it just again, I know what the movie was trying to do, but it just seemed very silly to me. This whole scene, yeah, I recognize it as kind of being a throwback to what was happening in the beginning, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that is, and maybe in some ways that's kind of cool, but it was just silly here to me. Again, we've already established how much Jason wants to get everything recorded. That's become very clear. Um, and Tracy, she's running for her life here basically, but yet she's got time to, basically yell and scream at Jason for not helping and hoping he's happy now. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's an odd scene to me. It's just I don't know. It's kind of silly. I guess really is the only way I know to talk about it. Tracy ends up getting back to the RV, and she just takes off and leaves everyone else there. Um, Jason goes back in, and we get a lot of dialogue here at that point between Jason and Deborah and a few of the others. We also see Ridley again through some of these cameras that are going on in the house, going up and killing Elliot, who was the guy that had gone up to take the shower and stuff. Shortly thereafter, Deborah is trying to convince Jason to go with her and Tony and the professor into this panic room and kind of try to wait this out there. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to continue to record. Um, she's talking about survival, and he's mentioning why would anyone want to survive in a world like this, and so he kind of goes to do his own thing, and then Ridley attacks him and ends up biting Jason. The professor again comes in and kills Ridley, and Deborah is now forced to shoot and kill Jason. um, they then see there's three people left. There's Deborah, there's Tony, there's this professor, and they then see again on these cameras from the house where there's a large group of zombies now starting to form outside. The zombies are just now starting to come out of the pool that were in the pool. We see Elliot has turned and he's already in the house. And so they all go into the panic room to try and wait this out. And then we cut back to Deborah's narration and mentioning the last bit of footage that she downloaded from all of this of when this was taking place. Was footage that Jason had recorded at one point of a hunting party who were shooting and killing some zombies, but also keeping some of them and using them as target practice, stringing them up and shooting them for target practice. And Deborah wonders if people are even worth saving anymore. And the film goes off. And that's Diary of the Dead. Tough to say what I think about this movie because I was enjoying it from the beginning and I like the concept and the idea of the film. But I really feel like this movie got in its own way a lot. There were things about this movie. This movie, it was on track. It could have been something, in my opinion, that was really good. It got off to a nice start and looked like it was going to be a good zombie film. But like I said, I just feel like it got in its own way. Way too much cutaways to scenes of again footage that they had uploaded from other areas where news outlets were recording this is what's happening here and this is what's happening, and just way too much of that that it took away again, as I said, from the flow of the film. Way too much narration. um, every time, I know I already said this, but every time it felt like something would start to happen in this movie, then we would cut away and get some more footage and narration, and it just got to be too much. It got to be very frustrating. It got to be very annoying. And even though this movie, I mentioned it, let me look again real quick. I think I mentioned it. Yeah, a runtime of only 95 minutes, so just barely over an hour and a half long. It felt so much longer than that to me by the time we got to this final act of the film. Um, one thing, when I'm watching a movie and I start checking to see how long it's got left, checking to see what time it is, and thinking, okay, can we wrap this up? I wish it was over. Not a good sign when I'm starting to do that towards the end of a movie instead of really plugged in and engaged and wanting to see how this is all going to wrap up and finish. And that's what was happening with this film. Um, it felt like it was so much longer. It felt more like it was a 2-hour movie. I had been completely taken out of it by. I keep repeating myself, but it had been completely taken out of it by all of the shots of different footage and the narration that was going on. A few plot holes here and there, and some very silly moments in the film. I felt like just make this, in my opinion, the worst film in Romero's Night of the Living Dead films, because I do like those. I like that franchise, but this one is my least favorite in all of them. It's just not a good movie, and I noticed that, knowing that I'm going to come on and do these episodes, and I'm kind of trying to take a few notes here and there, and think about things, and trying to have an idea in my head while I'm watching this of what I might rate this movie. I noticed that idea in my head for a ranking just kept continuously coming down. There was a moment where I thought, okay, I, right now I'm looking at maybe, it's not a great movie, but it's not bad. Maybe, maybe a 7, 6 or 7. And then we'd go a little bit more and we'd get more of the other stuff going on. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. This is probably more of like a 6 for sure. It's not good enough to be a 7. And then a little bit more, and I'm like, maybe even a 5. Like, this could be as bad as a 5. By the time this movie was over, I had come down tremendously. And for me, on my scale of 1 to 10, this movie is a 4. Diary of the Dead, 2007, a 4 out of 10. Had potential. Could have been something really good, I feel like, but just got on its own way. Um, Pacing not good, very uneven flow to the film, and just didn't land for me. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Diary of the Dead. So if you've seen this movie, I want to know what you think. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about Diary of the Dead. Do you agree with me? Not one of the better films in this franchise, or do you really like this one? And tell me why. People can have different opinions. That's perfectly fine. So let me know what you think about Diary of the Dead. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Help me continue to get this thing to grow. Like the video today. Please hit that like button. I really do appreciate it when people are not just subscribing, but they're hitting the like button. Leave me some comments. I love the interaction. Follow me on social media. I am pretty much on everything out there. I'm on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X. Yeah, like I said, everything out there I'm on pretty much. So follow me on social media. I do try to follow back as much as possible. Um, Coming up a little later this week, I am going to be back. I'm not sure. I know what the next 2 episodes are, but I'm not 100% sure yet of the order. But I will tell you that I'm going to be talking about the original, The Hills Have Eyes from 1977, I believe. And then also another older film, the original, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. And I believe that I have a guest coming on with me for that one that hasn't been on my show before. First time. He and I are talking about it and just trying to work some things out as far as a time to record. So if that works out, I will have a new guest on who hasn't been on my show before, and we'll talk about The Town That Dreaded Sundown. So I don't know which episode is coming first. It kind of depends on when he and I are able to works out, but that's the next 2 episodes coming. So be sure and subscribe so you don't miss those. A lot of fun episodes coming in October. It's our time of year. It's spooky season. It's Halloween. I have some great episodes coming in Halloween talking about some classic slasher films, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Child's Play, Hellraiser, Candyman, Scream. It's all slashers in October, and I have guests on every single episode. It's going to be some tremendously fun episodes, so please subscribe so you don't miss those. I'll wrap it up now and keep rambling. Just remember, subscribe, like, comment, follow. That's what I need from you today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon.